What are we talking about? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40! Can't wait! Let's go!
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Sports Empire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. Whether you're watching us live on Facebook right now, maybe you're watching us live on YouTube or over on Roku TV, we are happy that you are here. I am Chris, and of course, that over there is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
Doing well, everybody. You know what? Great playoff weekend. Some things surprised me and some things didn't. I think the two best games were probably the two games we had yesterday.
And let's start there. Warning. I'm going to be nice here. I'm going to give a little warning, Mo. If you are a fan of the Buffalo Bills and you don't want to hear anything negative about your team, you should go take a coffee break right now, because I don't have a lot of nice things to say this morning, Mo, about the Buffalo Bills. First of all, you and I hit the nail right on the head. We said if Buffalo was going to win that game yesterday, they would have had to have jumped out to an early lead, and that if it was close, neither of us trusted Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes. And it was close for basically the entire game. And Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes dueled it out, and Patrick Mahomes came out on top. Now, Mo, the narrative this morning in Buffalo is going to be to blame the kicker. And I'm not going to sit here and say the kicker has zero responsibility in that loss, because he missed a field goal at the end that would have tied the game, with a minute 20 or whatever it was left to go. Now, Mo, I will tell you this. I 100% believe had he made that kick a minute 18 later, the Chiefs would have been kicking a game-winning field goal. I wholeheartedly believe that to be the case, but obviously I can't prove that, so I digress. But if you're going to sit here as a Buffalo Bills fan this morning and you are going to blame the kicker as the reason why you lost that game yesterday, you either are in denial about what's happening in Buffalo, Mo, or you just didn't watch the game yesterday. For all season, Mo, all season, we have, especially the last 6 weeks, we have praised Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills for running the football with their running backs. All season. We've talked about balance. We've talked about how the emergence of Cook is why this could potentially be a team that has a ceiling to win a Super Bowl. And then if you look at the last 3 games, what has happened, Mo? Well, I look no further than the number of times Josh Allen has carried the football. Over the first 16 weeks of the season, he averaged 5.2 carries a game. Coming into last night's game, from week 17 on into the playoffs, he averaged about 11.5 carries a game. His carries doubled. Well, why did that happen? Well, the game started to become a little more meaningful, right? Towards the end of the season, they went on the winning streak, but they had to win those games to get themselves back into playoff contention. They had to win that last week in Miami to win the division. Then the playoffs started, and now it's win or go home. And Mo, I want to start here because for me, you are who you are when everything is on the line. You want to sit here and tell me, well, for the first 16 weeks, we were balanced. We had a rush. We were James Cook. Look what we did against the Dallas Cowboys, Chris. That was the formula for success. Well, Mo, what the hell happened in the playoffs? You threw that away. You went back to running Josh Allen 12, 13, 14 times a game. And now where are we? Oh, the same place that we've been previous seasons. You lost. And this idea of the playoffs come and Josh Allen's just going to put on the cape again is ridiculous to me, Mo. And if you look at that last drive, before the field goal attempt even goes up, you could literally see it. He almost throws a pick on the drive. He fumbles the football on the drive. He misses a wide open receiver on the drive. You saw it coming. The Josh Allen implosion was literally happening on that drive. Things just bounced Buffalo's way to get him into field goal range. And then, of course, they missed the kick. Mo, he was 10 for 21 on balls that he threw past the line of scrimmage in that game yesterday. 10 for 21. That's below 50% on balls that he threw 1 yard or deeper. But yet you want to blame the kicker this morning, Buffalo? You want to tell me it's the kicker's fault you lost that game? And Mo, it's just not fans. If you listen to Sean McDermott's press conference, he said we really struggled in 2 out of 3 phases of the game. Defense and special teams. Our offense did a lot of productive things. Did it, Sean? Did your offense do it? 10 for 21 when your quarterback throws the ball 1 yard or more down the field? That's productive things? Okay, Mo, I guess I was watching a different game than Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills fans were, because even though it was a 1-score game, I walked away from that game saying Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen.
And I walked away from it. Look, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great game. But as it played out, Chris, it played out how I pictured it would play out. Only a Buffalo blowout would have been how they would win. I just firmly believe that. And to be fair to the Buffalo Bills defense, that defense has been decimated by injuries. I mean, they lost playmakers on the front line. They lost their linebackers, gone. You name it. They've lost a lot of playmakers. And no, they didn't get a lot of stops, but there was a moment in the game where they stopped the Chiefs. The Chiefs were awarded a first down on a call, and they had to stop them again on that drive. They actually did stop them again on that drive. So when people say the defense didn't show up, I would say the defense got timely stops. When they get timely stops, it's up to the offense to do their part. And on that last drive, I'm with you. I'm watching it play out, and I'm like, man, there was a pick. If the one defender, I forgot who it was, doesn't jump the route, it was going straight to the guy behind him. He already had his hands out. It was like a punt. He fumbled, and luckily his guy was able to get to the football. Like it's a weird thing because they'll say they lost, but I thought the game played out in such a way that they had a lot of bounces go their way. If McCole Hardman doesn't try to overextend when you're at the goal line and you're twisting, dude, you have to know where you're at on the field. You cover up, you protect the football. But if that doesn't happen, that was a moment where I thought, well, the Chiefs are about to seize total control of the football game, and then that happened. Look, I give Buffalo credit. It was a great football game. And I don't blame Josh Allen for them losing. I don't. I'm not blaming him for them losing, but he didn't make the plays for them to win. And that's how I look at it. And I know everybody saying people are killing Josh. I'm not killing Josh Allen. I think Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback. And I think in the end, the better quarterback made more plays. You can give Josh Allen credit. And look, I thought the Bills' strategy, I thought the way they came out, where they just punched KC in the mouth, especially at the line of scrimmage. The Buffalo Bills offensive line is actually a very good run offensive line. They dominated the line of scrimmage early. And Josh Allen was able to run the ball. He looked really effective. I get that. But at some point, Kansas City adjusted. They were able to slow him down. They were able to stop him. And I kept thinking, okay, this is where Buffalo has to adjust to that. They've got to start throwing the ball down the field. And more times than not, when they went to the air, it was just dink and dunk. It was almost as if Josh Allen was like, I'm not going to mess this up. I'm not going to force it downfield, because I heard people saying today, well, Stephon Diggs didn't play like a number one receiver. I didn't see Diggs complaining. I didn't see him going into one of his tantrums. I just thought he didn't get the football. And maybe let's credit the Chiefs defense, because he was being covered with safety help, to be fair. But if he's got that kind of attention, somebody else has to be able to get open down the field, and that never happened. The kicking thing, when the kicker missed, while I had picked the Chiefs to win, man, when that happened in that moment, Chris, I immediately shot to, oh no, Scott Norwood part 2. This poor kicker's going to get killed. And I'm okay with the whole notion you have one job, and I get that. He's not the reason they lost the football game. You're right. He should have made that kick, but he's not the reason they lost that football game. Josh Allen had the ball in scoring range, and he just made a couple of bad passes down the stretch. When he could have made smarter choices, he made bad choices. And that happens. There's going to be a winner. There's going to be a loser. But more times than not, when Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes match up, Josh Allen tends to be the loser.
Mo, for me, I put a lot of this on the coaching staff. And the reason I do that is because if you look at Buffalo's blueprint and how it played out against the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was very similar here. Buffalo came out against Pittsburgh on fire. They went 21-0, and then slowly Pittsburgh pushed themselves back into the game. Now, Buffalo didn't go up big on Kansas City, but they could have been up more than they were. Buffalo had a lot more opportunities earlier in the game than they had later in the game. And part of that was execution. Part of that was good defense by Kansas City. But the point is, they had the opportunities early. They were moving the football early. Later on, they were not. To your point, the defense adjusted. Buffalo did not adjust. And as far as Stephon Diggs is concerned, he did get a fair share of targets. Now, a lot of them were behind the line of scrimmage, but he also had a couple of key drops. He dropped a key deep ball that Stephon Diggs normally would have catch.
Correct.
He had a fumble that didn't hurt them, but it was all actually there was a penalty on that play, so it did kind of hurt him because there was a penalty for slapping the ball forward, so that cost him 10 yards. But I'm pretty sure they got a first down like next play on that drive. Stephon Diggs over the last 6 weeks, and this is, again, and I put a lot of this on Sean McDermott. Look across the league, Mo. Teams have number one receivers. Many teams have number one guys that they feed the ball to, and they find a way to make it work. Like, look at Minnesota. Minnesota had no problem after Kirk Cousins got hurt getting the ball to Justin Jefferson with quarterback talent far less than Josh Allen. Like, I really find an issue with this narrative in Buffalo that for the team to be more balanced, we have to throw the ball less to Diggs. No, my issue with Diggs is that when he gets the ball thrown to him 12 times, he still wants the ball more. That's always been my issue with Stephon Diggs in Buffalo. I have no issue with you throwing it to him 12 times every game, especially if you're winning, especially if he's catching the ball and putting up numbers. Because again, Mo, like you and I have said before, if you throw to Diggs enough, he's going to eventually get double teamed. And then you're going to hit the other guys. And that was our question coming into this season. Who were the other guys going to be in Buffalo? And other weapons did emerge this season. But again, I go back 10 for 21 for Josh Allen on balls thrown past the line of scrimmage. He didn't throw the football well yesterday. 4 times in his career, last night was one of them. 4 times in his career that he didn't complete a pass of at least 20 yards. He had a couple of shots. Diggs dropped the ball. There was another ball by, I forget who it was, but it went through his hands and hit the ground. There were deep shots available, but they were more open earlier in the game than they were later in the game. Right. And that brings me back to this, Mo. If I'm Buffalo, I'm firing Sean McDermott. The time has come. What more do I need to see? We've been to the playoffs. We can't get past Patrick Mahomes. Blame the offensive line, defensive injuries. We have a running game. We don't have a running game. Josh Allen is wild. Josh Allen isn't wild. I've seen all the narratives play out in Buffalo with Sean McDermott. And at the end of the day, Mo, we end up in the same exact spot. Josh Allen isn't going anywhere. He is going to be the quarterback in Buffalo until he can no longer be the quarterback in Buffalo.
No question.
So if we're not changing quarterbacks, which I don't think we should, what other change are we? We've changed offensive coordinators. I think Josh has had 3 or 4 underneath Sean McDermott. Oh, is that it? Are we just going to change offensive coordinators? Like, Mo, there comes a point where the head coach has to be accountable. And I'm not saying McDermott is a bad coach. He's had success in Buffalo. But if Buffalo really wants to reach the next level, which is winning an AFC title and getting to a Super Bowl, how can you sit here this morning with the utmost confidence, Mo, and say, McDermott's our guy? For me, I can't. And if I can't, then I shake his hand, I say thank you, and I try to find someone that can get us to that next step, because I don't think Sean is it.
I kind of brought this topic up, maybe I think it was Friday, not on the show, but I was in a chat going back and forth, and what I said was, if the Bills were to lose, ultimately, when you look at his resume, what makes Sean McDermott any safer than Mike McCarthy? Even though Dallas ended up retaining him, but that was more about Jerry Jones talking Jerry Jones into it. But to your point, he has a better quarterback than Mike McCarthy. You would agree, right? He's a better quarterback, a better quarterback talent. He has a legit number one, as do the Cowboys. When they're whole, they're as talented as anybody, and they come up short time and time again. And maybe what it is Sean McDermott has a ceiling to how far he can take you as a coach. It doesn't mean he's not a good football coach. It just means he has a ceiling. And in any other offseason, I would say, you know what? Tough game, heartbreaking loss. He coached well. Look, especially the way they played down the stretch. When you factor in all the injuries that they had, I would say coaching played a big part in that. Having said that, though, you're in the postseason. You're hosting this playoff game. If there's going to be a year that you break through, if you're going to get Kansas City, it would be this year. This is the very weakest iteration of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes when you're talking about talent for talent, especially at the skill positions on the outside. You're supposed to win that football game. However you manage it, you're supposed to win that football game. If you can't beat Kansas City in their current state with a home game, I don't know what to say. And because this is a unique offseason, Chris, because there's a Belichick out there and there's a Harbaugh out there, why wouldn't you consider it? Why wouldn't you consider that upgrade? Because those would be upgrades. Now, I don't think Harbaugh's interested in that job, but wouldn't it be insane that Bill Belichick would stay in the AFC East to come back and taunt Robert Kraft? I fully believe he's invested and interested in the Atlanta job, but there's a part of him that's got to think, man, for spite. I mean, we're always talking about it's a quarterback-driven league. Who wouldn't want to go to a team that already has a unique franchise quarterback in place who's in his prime? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm with you. If I'm the owner, I have to give deep consideration to moving on and upgrading or looking for an upgrade, just because Sean McDermott seems like he's reached his ceiling as a head coach.
And right now, I want to bring JG in to wrap up this
JG.
conversation before we get to the baseball stuff. I wanted to get both of your opinions on this. JG, welcome to the show this morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Good morning, guys.
What's up, JG?
So, take away the on-the-field player X's and O's stuff last night. At the end of the game, there were some shenanigans that took place in Buffalo that I wanted to touch on because I've seen both sides of this, and I'm very much on one side of this argument. And for me, it's very black and white, and there's little gray area. But I'd love to get both of your perspectives. And Mo, we'll start with you. At the end of the game yesterday, game is over. Chiefs are celebrating. Patrick Mahomes finds a Chiefs fan sitting near the field level. He makes his way over. It looks like he's do an autograph signing or exchange or something with the young Chiefs fan. He is destroyed by Snowballs on his way to the Chiefs fan, on his way from the Chiefs fan, and on the way back into the locker room area. And then we find out a little bit later from some of the Kansas City Chiefs players, no hot water. Hot water in the Chiefs locker room just doesn't exist anymore, apparently. Pipes froze. Something crazy happened. Weird coincidence happening there in Buffalo. Mo, I'll start with you. Thoughts before I say anything.
So I actually saw some of that. I saw now after the game. I don't know if you saw when Patrick Mahomes. He's really fired up. He's an emotional in the moment, and the Buffalo Bills fans have been going at him hard the whole game. So, Patrick Mahomes goes over and he's doing the flex, right? I have no problem with that, right? The same way I had no problem with Sean Jones giving Buffalo the salute, the goodbye salute. And to me, though, he's going over to interact with a fan. And it might be the biggest moment of that fan's life, right? You're obviously a Chiefs fan, a Patrick Mahomes fan, and the Bills fans, the pelting him with the snowballs, that was insane to me. I thought that was classless. In my opinion, I thought that was classless. It really was. I mean, it's not. Maybe it's not as bad as throwing snowballs at Santa Claus, but it was pretty bad.
JG, what are your thoughts, sir?
I'm going to be very because there is someone in the group chat that I've been critical of his fan base, and he's come after me quite a bit over the last year. But I do agree with Mo that this is a classless gesture that took place by the Bills fans. I can understand the frustration that this fan base has felt for 30 years. Going all the way back to the 90s where they lost 4 straight AFC championship games. They're on the cusp. They've been on the cusp for the last 5 years to be a Super Bowl contending team, and they continue falling short, and their frustration is just completely built up to them, and they're running into a brick wall that is known as Pat Mahomes, and he's interacting with a fan. And the frustration is completely boiled over for Bills fans, and they're in throwing snowballs. And I agree. Glad there's no batteries inside the snowball. I'm glad there's
Right.
there's nothing that's inside that can actually cause some serious harm to Mahomes or the fan. But at the same time, we have to remember as fans that this is a game. This is not life or death. This is not, if you lose this, you go to prison type of thing. This is a game. And guys are playing, Pat Mahomes. Yes, it's a lot of money. The fans are – I'll say this. It's different today than what it was 30 years ago because you're spending $300 on a playoff ticket, which is basically for a lot of people, that's half a paycheck or whatnot, or that's a good chunk of money that you're putting, especially if you're bringing a family too. $300 a ticket, you're probably spending almost $1,000 for a playoff ticket on top of the food and drinks that you're paying for in the stadium. That's a lot of money. I can understand. It's an investment to the fans. It is an investment to the fans, to the team that they are supporting, but it is a game. And we have to remember that as fans, that this is a game. The guys are humans. We cannot cross lines. We cannot do anything, even if it's just snowballs. We can't do anything that potentially can harm other human beings. And I think that's where we, as people at sporting events, we forget that. And this is a moment where like I said, the boiling point has reached its peak in Buffalo. They are absolutely frustrated and tired of losing and falling short, and they're losing to the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes. But at the same time, we cannot forget this is a game. We cannot get to the point of being Neanderthals and doing things to people that we have no business doing to. It is absolutely classless of what took place in Buffalo.
And that's basically what my sentiment was too, because I look at it like this, gentlemen. Why are you doing it? What is the point of throwing the snowball? You're angry. You're upset. I'm sorry. You can say, and I saw a lot of Buffalo Bills fans say this, oh, Patrick Mahomes can't take a little snow being thrown at him. That's not the point. The point is you're throwing it because you're trying to hurt him. You're angry at him. That's why you're doing it. You're not throwing it to be like, oh, we're friends. Like, you're not. Like, the intent is you're frustrated and you're upset. And that, gentlemen, as you know, once you let it go, you lose all control of that situation. You are no longer in control. Your control comes up to the point you release the snowball. At that point, let's say you miss and you hit somebody else and you hurt them. Let's say you hit the little fan that Mahomes was interacting with. You lose all control once that snowball leaves your hand.
Well, think about it in this way too. Let's just put it this way: what if there's some snowballs that were not just plain snowballs?
We don't know.
We don't know that. There could be some. There could be some fans that were overly intoxicated that may have stuffed snowballs with something in it, and so some people may have just made a regular snowball there, but there could have been someone else out there or a couple people out there that took it to another level and stuffed snowballs with something that could actually harm people. And you're absolutely correct. What if they miss Mahomes and they hit a camera person who's not even paying attention because he's taking pictures of the team? So there's a line, and absolutely 100% the line was crossed. And again, we have to be understanding that it's not – you may not just have plain snowballs in there. There might be other things in there that we just don't know at that point.
And gentlemen, I'm also, for the record, I'm not a big fan of the snowballs that we saw a few times this week and a few times last week in the end zones. We saw a couple when Pittsburgh was down in the end zone last week, some throws down there. I'm not saying they impacted the game or anything like that, but at the same time, if you're throwing a snowball into the field of play when the other team is trying to catch a ball in the end zone, the intent is pretty clear. You are trying to interfere with the outcome of the game. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it had an impact, but who knows, JG? Who knows, as you are flashing to the end zone and something else comes flashing past you that's not the football, half a second. It takes half a second to change the outcome of a play in the NFL. And I don't know if those fans were ejected. I hope they were. I hope that if you were caught throwing a snowball at any point in that game or after that game, that you were banned from that stadium for life, because that's what I think the punishment should be, because there shouldn't be any place for that. This isn't fandom. This isn't a representation of Bills Mafia. This isn't just all those Bills fans are so silly up there in Buffalo. No, it's ridiculous. And I would hope that the appropriate action was taken. I have no idea if it was or it wasn't, but I don't think there's a place for any of it. And as far as the cold water situation goes, I mean, again, it falls in line. I think that's a little more humorous than the snowball thing. Obviously, the water isn't going to hurt anyone. But again, like, this isn't high school. This isn't high school athletics. This isn't middle. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if a high school team did that, JG, I'd be like, who is your coach? That's a little sophomoric, but okay. Like, if it was like a big high school rival, okay, whatever. This is the NFL. What are we doing?
I'll say that I'll give the benefit of the doubt for now.
You're a good man.
That is a coincidence. Again, it's cold. Obviously it was cold. It was snow, ice. I'll give the benefit of the doubt that it was just a coincidence that occurred. Because at this stage, again, I put this, for the amount of technology that these stadiums have, the amount of resources that these stadiums have, and at the same time, it's a business, and the people who run the stadiums know it's a business. And there's nothing, and just from experience in professional sports, there is not a lot of that in today's era tomfoolery that takes place to screw another team with hot water, especially if it's freezing cold. There is a lot of the people who are in charge of the stadiums, a lot of people who are in charge of taking care of the teams are very professional, and at least in my own personal experience, that they assure that even the opposing team is taken care of. So I'll give the benefit of the doubt as far as for the hot water situation, that it was just a coincidence that occurred. I don't think anybody went to the boiler room in the stadium and absolutely turned off the hot water. I don't think they went there. I would not say at the moment, unless I'm told otherwise, or there's more evidence that says otherwise, that occurred. So I won't say anything about that as more as just saying it's a coincidence that occurred because of the weather that was going on in Buffalo.
JG, let's switch a little bit to some Major League Baseball here. The Red Sox CEO has come out, and he is not a happy camper. Red Sox fans have been very critical of the moves the team has made this offseason, questioning the Red Sox commitment to winning moving forward. He basically came out and said that you're wrong. I'm very committed to winning. I think that what I've done so far has proven that I am committed to winning, that this franchise is committed to winning. And basically, you'll see later on this season how committed we are to winning. Now, JG, obviously, I would expect the CEO of any professional team who is criticized as to whether or not they want to win to come out and say those things. But let me ask you this. Actions speak louder than words. Based on the moves the Red Sox have made, do you see them as a franchise that is looking to win this upcoming season, or do you think they're in the middle of a longer game plan that's going to take a couple of seasons to kind of ultimately get back into a competitive World Series contender type of situation?
They're not in a position to win in 2024. I agree with you that especially in Boston, you can't. I'll question that every team will sit here, or CEO will say, well, yeah, we're committed to winning, because we just saw what Oakland A's did this past year in 2023, and what they're doing in 2024 is no different either. But for Boston, you can't say no comment in Boston because of how that fan base is and the history of that organization. So you have to make a comment to say that we're committed to winning. But again, as you said, what moves have been made to show that they're in that position? What have they done for their pitching staff that has put them in a position to compete in the AL East, not just the American League, but the AL East alone, where you have teams like Baltimore, who's up and coming, continues to get better, and they're going to get better in 2024 as well. You do have the Yankees, who have been making moves. Your division rival has made some moves to better themselves. That's something that we talk about at times. Was the Yankees going to do something? And so far, they have made moves. So your division rival has made moves. Toronto is still going to be a team that's going to be in the conversation. I think the only team that's really taking a step back in 2024 will be Tampa Bay, just because of their market and what they have and what they've been having to do in the process because of some of the moves they've made and some of the off the field things. I'm not going to mention his name just because of the absolute disgusting acts that have taken place, but for the off the field issues that have taken place with certain players. Tampa Bay is going to take a step back, but for Boston, they haven't even taken a step forward or even worked on taking a step back. They're stuck, and they were one of the last place teams in this division last year, and so the moves you've made have not sufficed to bring excitement into 2024. Your pitching staff is the same, and trading Chris Sale, which yes, Chris Sale has been a shell of his former self for the last few years, but as the season went on in 2023, he has pitched better. He could have been an asset to this rotation, and not to be a number one, but at least an asset to be a pitcher that can eat innings and be competitive for your team. And they traded him away for Vaughn Grissom, who at the moment is going to be a project in Boston. He's going to get opportunities in the big leagues. He's going to be a middle infielder for them. He'll probably be a utility to move around at times, but at the moment, he's a project still that we don't really know how he's going to handle a 162-game season in the big league. So if I'm a Boston Red Sox fan, the moves or lack thereof has me very concerned, and I'm not buying into what the front office has been speaking about this team. And to be frank, this is not we're building. I'm a Red Sox fan. I haven't seen what moves they've made to better themselves for the future at the moment right now as well. I don't know how competitive they're going to be in 2025 or even 2026 in the next 3 years. So they're stuck in purgatory right now. And if you're a last place team, which is what they were last year, being stuck is not a good place to be. They haven't taken the steps forward that is necessary to say, yes, we're going to see Boston be competitive in the American League East in 2024.
Josh Hader signs a $95 million 5-year deal with the Houston Astros. There were a handful of teams that were rumored to be competing for his services. He ultimately ends up in Houston. What do you make of the deal, and what do you make of the impact that he is going to have on Houston this season and for the next handful of seasons?
Very interesting, because you did have Ryan Presley, who has been a very good closer in Major League Baseball for a long time. So how they're going to structure the back end of their bullpen is going to be interesting. And if Presley is on board with Hader coming on and being the new closer, and he can be the setup guy for Hader, I think that makes this team very dangerous in the back end, which the starting rotation for Houston is a question mark as far as the strength. They were not as good as what we've seen in past years leading up in 2023, and the starting rotation took a step back. And that's why they had to bring in Justin Verlander, who, again, Verlander at 40 years old, you don't really know how effective he's going to be continuing throughout his career, the remainder of his career right now. But how do you better an average starting rotation? You go and load up your bullpen. And I think that's what Houston is looking at and saying, maybe we cannot strengthen our rotation enough because of the resources we already have lined up into our rotation. So in the process of it, we can strengthen our bullpen more. And that was what it is. It was a luxury to bring in Hader because you did have some good arms in the back end, but you lengthened it even more by bringing in Hader to be the closer. You moved Presley to the 8th inning, or using him in certain situations in the 7th and 8th inning could potentially be. And then you kind of elongate the rest of your bullpen and relievers from there. So that was, I think, the thought process is that, hey, we cannot strengthen our rotation anymore because of the money we already have invested, but we can still begin to help them. Or if they go 5 innings, or if our starters go 5 innings, we move the line down because we have lengthened up the back end, the 7th and 8th and 9th inning with our arms. That puts guys who had to be a 7th inning guy last year, we can use them in the 6th inning where it's a little bit less stress and a little bit less pressure, that it makes them even better. And we have guys that we absolutely trust in the 8th and 9th inning with Presley and Hader. It makes them very dangerous. So I like the move for Houston. I understand the move and what they're looking at and what they're expecting to get. And it just makes the Astros that much more dangerous going into 2024.
JG, before we get you out of here, clearly Snell wants more money than he's being offered. Who is going to blink first in this situation? The teams that want his services and who are kind of all apparently in the same sort of market as to what they want to offer him and what they think he's worth? Or is Snell going to blink first and say, I'm just not going to get the money that I want, so I'm going to go with whoever I want to play with this season that's offering me money and kind of wrap this up? Because, again, we're getting closer. And someone's going to eventually have to blink. And I don't know. I don't foresee any of these teams just shooting up there and kind of giving in to what he wants. But at the same time, how long is he going to wait to decide where he wants to play?
Snell's going to be the one to have to blink at this point, where we're just a few weeks away from spring training. And the market has absolutely, went ice cold. Talking about how the weather is throughout the country, it's Blake Snell's market is just as cold as what it is going on out here. And this is what we've been saying. I've been saying with you guys. He's unrealistic with what he's asking for as a 30-year-old, wanting a long-term deal and wanting a high annual average value to the contract is what it's not realistic for him, because that's what again, He knows he's better statistically, and with the two Cy Young Wars, he's looking at, well, I'm better than Yamamoto. I want Yamamoto money, and he's went down. He has gone down as far as his asking price to a little bit lesser. But the problem is the teams that have been offering him, and the Yankees are one of the ones who've been pushing the hardest for him. I'm looking at it here. They offered him a 6-year, $150 million contract. That is nowhere near the money that he's been wanting. He's wanting 250, 270 still. And he dropped down because there was a point where he was asking for 300, which is what Yamamoto got. And he's dropped it down to about 250. That's a $100 million difference between what he's wanting and what the team like the Yankees are offering. He has to be. I don't see a team like the Yankees. If the Yankees are going 150, I could see the Yankees go, if we're just talking about the Yankees themselves, I could see them going to 175. And that is the absolute ceiling of what they will offer him. But it'll be probably a shorter deal, a 4-year deal to get closer to the annual money that he wants. But it won't be a long-term deal, which, as I'm looking over at I've been looking over at the articles about Snell, he still wants a long-term deal on top of the 250 that he's been asking for as well. So if you're the Yankees and say, we'll offer 175, but we're going to make it a 4-year deal, he doesn't want that either. So at some point, he has to be the one that's going to blink. He's going to be the one that has to settle and admit and just accept, I'm not getting the deal that I want. Now, he can do what Carlos Correa and say, hey, I'll take a 1-year deal, prove it again. I'll prove myself again. And if he goes and wins the Cy Young for a third time, you might get closer to the over $200 million deal. It probably won't be the 6-year deal or 7-year deal that he wants. It'll probably be a 5-year deal, but he can get closer to that 200 range at that point because he did it again. And I think you'll see it at that point. But this is a game of chicken, and he's not going to win. He has to accept that the market is not what he thought it was going to be for himself. And at this point, like I said, we're just a few weeks away from spring training. He needs to be in camp. Pitchers have to be in camp. They cannot miss time, and especially it's going to take him as well as other pitchers to get ramped up. They need the whole month. He needs to be in camp somewhere. I don't know. Yankees. I think the Yankees are stuck on the number they want. Except maybe they can go to 175, but other teams, they need to see that he needs to lower that number down for any other team to really be interested.
And JG, doesn't it kind of speak volumes? So the Yankees are at 150. And like you said, it would make sense for them to go up to 175, 180 if they really, really want to push it. But if I'm another team and I'm like, well, we can probably get him for 2. Why not just if we really want him, let's just offer him 2. But JG, no one's doing that. And that's the thing. So people know where the Yankees are. And I'm sure other numbers have been floated his way by other teams. But no one's coming in the back door saying, okay, we know you got this offer. Here's how much we're going to top that offer by. Come join us. Since no one's doing that, isn't the league basically saying that's basically what he's worth? We might give him a little more than that, but the Yankees are pretty much in the ballpark of what we're all comfortable offering him. And like you said, when it's $100 million plus apart from what he's currently at, which is 40 or 50 million lower than what he originally wanted, you're literally looking at a guy that overvalued himself by about $150 million, according to the market. That's a tough pill to swallow as an athlete when you are that far away from what the rest of the league is saying you're worth.
Absolutely. And this is I'll go a step further. This is a doing of Scott Boras, which over time, teams have been so fed up with Scott Boras because of how this is a typical Scott Boras move. And teams have usually caved to what Boras wants for his client. And I think this is starting to set I won't say it sets a trend yet because Scott Boras has been the super agent that still gets to what he wants for his. But if we see this again next year with Juan Soto, because Soto is a Boras client, if we see this again where he overvalues Soto and no team is going to get close to that number, you might start seeing a trend that teams are just absolutely fed up with dealing with Boras. He's going to have to start accepting the market's going to have to be the same for some of his clients as well. And the market's not been the same for a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys who have, are other than Ohtani and Yamamoto, which again, Yamamoto's 25 years old. the market has not been as great as what we've seen in past years. It's been a little bit more tempered right now. So that falls on the agent to understand the market, and expectations need to change. And this is a start to that in a way that Blake Snell at 30 years old, which I think if you look back at 10 years ago, 30-year-old pitchers, they get their money, they get the bag, and they get what their market value is and what they expected it to be. I think at this point right now, as the game is going to the younger side, you're wanting the guys who are 24, 25 years old. Older pitchers, we saw this year, have struggled. Are you really wanting a Blake Snell at 34, 35 years old, who, as the game gets faster, is going to struggle at times throughout the year? That's what we've seen. And I think by this point in the next 2 years, as the pitch clock continues to be implemented and they're shrinking it a little bit more now, how does older pitchers handle this? That is the study that is going to be taking place in 2024, 2025, and 2026. And if that's the case, you're going to see pitchers who are at 30 years old, which used to be the prime. If you're in your 30s to 33 years old, you are in your prime as a pitcher. That might change here in the next few years because of the new rules that have been implemented. And if that's the case, guys, younger pitchers are going to get you're going to see more teams sign younger pitchers earlier at the 23, 24, 25 years old to get them in their prime of 27 to 28, 29 years old, and then move on at that point, or look for a lesser deal with the older pitchers at that sense. So it's setting a trend I think we're going to start seeing here pretty soon. And this is the start of it with Blake Snell. And he's going to have to, again, at the moment, no other team is going to make a move right now because they'll be outbidding them. They have to outbid themselves. The Yankees, everybody knows what the Yankees have offered. It's 150. So if you're looking at it and saying, well, hey, I can go and offer 175 to 200 million, you're just arguing with yourself at that point. You're negotiating against yourself. So that's why a team is kind of holding off. Any of the teams that are involved or wanting to be involved with Snell, they're holding off until he looks at it and says, okay, I will come closer to what you guys think my market is. And then I think at that point, you'll start seeing 2 or 3 more teams involved in deals.
JG, always a pleasure having you on in the morning, sir. We will see you tomorrow.
Appreciate the knowledge, JG.
As always, guys, I appreciate it.
Mo, it was touch and go for a little bit this weekend with your San Francisco 49ers. But in the end, playoff football is about one thing. It's about the W. And in the end, the San Francisco 49ers did what they had to do, minus Debo for the majority of the game, and they move on to the conference championship. Mo, I want to get your thoughts on the Niners and how they look. But before we do that, let's talk about the other side of it. Because all week we talked about the Green Bay Packers, and we talked about taming expectations going into that game. Sure. I personally said I thought the stars aligned for the Green Bay Packers against the Dallas Cowboys. And even when the stars aligned, I still saw plenty of flaws in that Green Bay Packer team. You fast forward a week, 6 days, to them playing the San Francisco 49ers. And to be fair, I would say Green Bay controlled 2.5 to 3/4 of that game.
No question.
But when money time came, and money time for me was the fourth quarter, end of the third quarter, after Green Bay goes up 21-14, Jordan Love touches the ball on 4 more drives after that. He goes interception, 3 and out. I believe there was a blocked or a missed field goal in there somewhere. Interception. He went, I think he was 7 for 13 for 30 yards and 2 interceptions over his last 4 drives. Mo, those are drives where you run the 4-minute offense, you keep San Francisco off the field, and you ice the game away. And they couldn't do it. So for me, and I take nothing away from the season that Green Bay had, but for me, don't sit here and tell me going into this game, Jordan Love is elite. Jordan Love is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Jordan Love is going to do all these things in Green Bay, and he's going to have his name in the same conversation going into next season as the top 3 quarterbacks in the league. You can't bring me that energy and then we look at the last 4 drives, 2 of which he turned the ball over on. And I'll tell you right now, Mo, he pulled a perfect Josh Allen impression on that last drive. Rolling to his right, throwing back across his body into triple coverage. Josh Allen would have been proud of that throw. You can't do that and then still come with the energy that he's a top 5 quarterback. Mo, he's a good quarterback. He is going to be the future of Green Bay for the next few seasons. He does deserve to get paid. I mean, if Danny Dimes got paid, then yeah, Jordan Love deserves to get paid.
Oh, he's better than Danny Dimes.
For sure. But let's not be a prisoner of the moment because, again, regular season is great. But ultimately, you are judged on your postseason success as a quarterback. And with the game on the line, you're up by 7 in the playoffs. You get 4 drives to try to lock this game away. And you go 2 picks and a 3 and out on 3 of those 4 drives, Mo. You're not there yet. You're not there yet. Maybe you will be there next season.
Right.
Maybe you will be there 2 years from now. Brock Purdy was the better quarterback in that game because when the time mattered, when it was money time, when it was go time, Purdy delivered and Jordan Love did not. That is how you judge quarterback greatness in the playoffs. Who delivers when it's go time? Purdy delivered in that game. Jordan Love did not. That's all we look at. Clean slate now. Now we move on. Whatever Purdy does in the NFC Championship game, that's the next judgment of what he is, right? Like,
sure.
And that's the unfair part of it if you're a quarterback in the NFL. Because what you did last week no longer matters. Nope. I don't care that Jordan Love put up 40 on Dallas. Because when it mattered against San Francisco with a trip to the NFC title game on the line, 4 drives, 30 yards passing, 2 picks. That's it. Let's try again next season. It's that simple for me.
No, I'm with you.
Where do you stand?
And I'm with you. He's the future of the Packers. He's a good quarterback. He may become a great quarterback. He may.
He might.
His career has to play out. That's the way I always see things. And I'm with you. As I'm watching the game, my head was spinning because I was thinking about the conversation you and I had on Friday when I told you if both teams played their very best, the Niners are going to win easy. And I thought for 3 quarters, for the most part, Green Bay played their best game. They're playing great. They were dictating tempo. They were controlling the line of scrimmage. I was sitting there and I was like, is Joey Bosa injured? I haven't heard his name called. Haven't heard his name called. Where is that man at? Why is he getting paid what he's getting paid? He has been a no-show. Joey Bosa is a great talent, but in playoff football, more times than not, his name is not called a lot.
We don't hear him at all.
We don't hear him at all. And I was amazed at how the offensive line of the Packers handled the Niners' defensive line. I fully came into the game thinking we're going to be able to get pressure with 4 guys. We don't have to send extra guys. And we couldn't get to him. Jordan Love had a clean pocket. The few times they made him move, they just made him move. They couldn't get to him. And I was just impressed with how Green Bay controlled the line of scrimmage, not just offensively, but defensively. They got at Purdy. Purdy was the guy that was on his heels for most of the game. He was the guy taking the big shots. That said, I like the way the defense got it together late. I like the way they stiffened and they made plays late. I like some of the throws. The last drive, Purdy made throws when he needed to. Look, sometimes we watch football games and the first thing we do after the game is we run right to the box score and go, he threw for 350 yards and ran for this and that. And I don't get caught up in that. I always go on the eye test and I go, yeah, it wasn't beautiful, but late in the game, Purdy made the throws that he needed to make.
He delivered.
And that's what matters the most to me. I will say this. If they want to go to the Super Bowl, they better be better than that when they play the Lions.
Yes.
If they're like they were versus the Packers, they're not going to the Super Bowl. And it's an interesting thing in my head, Chris. I'm thinking Lions and Niners about to play. and we don't know what's going to happen in the AFC. We do know the Ravens dog walked both of those teams.
Yeah,
they did. We know that. And it's a different game in the playoffs, but we'll see. But I saw the Lions and how they played, and if the Niners are going to go to the Super Bowl, they better step the game up.
A lot of, just like the kicker for Buffalo is catching a lot of flack that he doesn't deserve. Baker Mayfield is also catching some flack this morning that I don't think he entirely deserves. I know he had 2 turnovers in that game yesterday, Mo, but the Tampa Bay defense basically said, we're going to pull a Philadelphia Eagles here, and we're just going to give you the middle of the field the entire game. And the entire game, Jared Goff and the Lions attacked the middle of that defense. And for the most part, Mo, they got what they wanted. I mean, they went on a stretch there where they scored 3 or 4 consecutive touchdowns in the second half. And it was all just middle of the field, middle of the field, middle of the field. And I'm sitting there watching the game like, are the Bucs even going to cover the middle? Like, do we care about the middle of the field? Like, we're not putting anyone there. Everything is to the outside. No one's running across the field with these guys. Like, Baker did what he tried. He got him back in the game after going down the 2 scores late. Obviously, with Baker comes turnovers. That's kind of who he is. He's going to take risks that maybe he shouldn't take. But I put that game, if I'm a Bucs fan, I put it on the defense first, and I put it on Baker second. That being said, though, Mo, and I saw the comments after the game from Todd Bowles saying, we want Baker back next season. And that's what I wanted to hear.
As well, they should.
I thought Baker deserves to be the starting quarterback of that team. A 3 or a 4 year deal. Remember, he's not even 30 yet. Man's not even 30 years old.
You got to keep reminding people that.
I know, because he's been on 4 or 5 different teams. You think he's like 34, 35. Man's 28 or 29 years old. I hope they lock him in on a 3 or 4 year deal. Give him a little chunk. I don't think he should be making, Lamar money or anything like that. Nothing crazy. But lock him in, give him a good little chunk. And I think you're in that division. And we'll see what Bill Belichick does and what the Atlanta Falcons do. But in that division, with Baker as your quarterback, you are a contender to win that division every season. Mo, let me ask you this. And it's funny because originally I was setting up to have the conversation with you today of, if the Bucs make a Super Bowl, is it a mini dynasty? Because what I was going to say was they win one with Brady year 1. They win one. They get to one with Baker year 4. They win 4 division titles in between 2 conference titles. Would that be a mini dynasty? Now, we can't have that conversation anymore, so I'm a little upset about it. But I'm going to transfer the conversation to this. If Jared Goff wins the Super Bowl, is he a Hall of Fame quarterback? Having been to 2 with 2 different teams and winning 1.
That's right. That's right.
Because he lost the one with the Rams.
That's right. He lost the one.
If he were to get there again and win it with the Lions, is he a Hall of Famer?
Nah, I wouldn't say. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that even if he won it with the Lions, look, he'd be a made man in the city of Detroit.
He would eat free for the rest of his life in Detroit.
He and his family, right? He would be a made man, and deservedly so. That's how big that would be. But I don't think he's a Hall of Fame. I don't think he's had a Hall of Fame type career. I would say the guy that he beat the week before last is closer to having a Hall of Fame career than Jared Goff. I think Stafford is closer to that. That doesn't mean that Jared Goff, who's a young man in his own right, doesn't have the time to build up his resume to become a Hall of Fame quarterback. But I wouldn't say he's there right now.
Fair enough, sir. All right. Good Monday. Close us out.
Thank you, everybody in the chat. We appreciate the support. Hey, guys, check out all the great content that we have on Sports Empire Network. Check out the Empire.
Make sure you're back here same time, same place tomorrow. We're going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens and what they did against the Houston Texans. We'll have some other NFL news for you. JG will be back to discuss some more baseball stuff. All of that and more tomorrow right here. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show on Sports Empire Network, and we will see you tomorrow morning.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling. Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.